I'm Olivier Niggli. I'm the Director General of the World Anti-Doping Agency.
Thanks again for participating, Olivier. So first, why don't you describe the World Anti-Doping Agency and its mission and goals in, let's say, under 2 minutes?
The World Anti-Doping Agency is kind of a unique organization. It's a cooperation between the sports movement and the governments of the world, and to create the world regulator, if you want, for anti-doping. So the missions are different. There are a number of missions. I would say the first one is to make sure that we educate the athletes and the world about anti-doping. The second one is that we are the regulator, therefore we promulgate the rules, we establish the rules that applies across all sports all around the world. And the third one, obviously, is that we have to make sure the rules are being properly applied. So we are monitoring the rules and potentially we are prosecuting those who are not following the rules.
So why did WADA, as I understand is your acronym, why did it choose Montreal for the location of its international headquarters? And what are Montreal's, let's say, competitive advantages for international organizations in your view?
It's interesting because WADA, when it was created, went into a bidding contest to host its headquarters. That was back in 2001, 2002. And there was a number of cities from all around the world that were competing to host the headquarters of WADA. I think there was, if I remember correctly, about 14 cities initially. There was 2 rounds and so on. In the end, Montreal was in the shortcut, and the final was between Montreal and Lausanne in Switzerland. And Montreal won the vote from our board, and the headquarters moved to Montreal. Now, why did the board voted for Montreal? I think there's a number of reasons. First of all, I mean, it was a very good offer from Montreal that was prepared and put forward by Montreal International already at the time. And there was all the conditions where all the boxes were ticked and so on. But I have to say that, with a smile actually, that we are probably in Montreal because of Denis Coderre, the former mayor of Montreal, but at the time, the sports minister of Canada, of the federal government, who actually did a fantastic campaign for Montreal and for Quebec and for Canada to host the World Anti-Doping Agency. And really, I have to give him full credit for having convinced people that Montreal was the right place to host WADA. And it's proven to be true, I would say, over the years. But at the time, he did the job. Beyond sports, we are the World Anti-Doping Agency. So we like to say that the W in WADA is important because we are, representing the world. And Montreal is a very multicultural city. A lot of diversity, and for us it's a good fit, also a good fit for our employees and so on. So to be in this multicultural environment. On top of it, Montreal has a history of sports. They hosted the Olympic Games. They have in Montreal one of the 34 laboratories who do anti-doping. There's not so many cities in the world that have that, so there's one in Montreal. There are universities. Good quality universities in Montreal, which is always good for recruitment purposes and for the opportunities that are there, and there's I think a love for sports in Canada in general, but in Montreal too. There's a love for sports and for what it means and so on. So all this is actually fitting pretty well with being in Montreal as a sports organization.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So since coming to Montreal almost 20 years ago now, 19 to be specific, how has WADA expanded its presence in the city, and what kind of relationships has it fostered to develop its impact? Because at the end of the day, it's really about its impact, right?
We moved to Montreal in 2002, and I remember at the time we were probably 12 or 14 employees who arrived in Montreal. Today we are about 140 employees in Montreal. We have people from 40 plus nationalities. We have a lot of expats. We also have a lot of Canadians. And I think, we have grown in Montreal very well since we have arrived. And I think Montreal is a very welcoming city, for people who come from abroad to work for this organization. They're always very happy to come to Montreal. It's a very attractive place for foreigners and so on. And we find also what we need in the local market for our needs. So both aspects are very, very good in terms of fitting into the city and developing and so on and so forth. On top of it, over the years, we have come to know Montreal and Quebec also better. And we have done a lot of things. For example, I'll give you a few examples. We have now a partnership with the Fonds de Recherche du Québec. I'm not sure how you say in English, but it's a research fund that is available. We have a partnership. They're funding, and they've given us about $2 million to do intelligence artificial project with IT companies that are based in Montreal. So that's another aspect of value for us there in research project and so on. So that's a very good thing. We also, for example, we have passed a law. I mean, Quebec has passed a law last year, giving us some immunity for civil claims and so on, which is very important, for example, for the protection of our whistleblower, because in anti-doping, we get a lot of information from people and we need to protect their identity. We need to protect them for what they do. And Quebec has helped us doing that by actually passing legislation, which is quite extraordinary. So all this to say that we have a feeling of belongings that is pretty strong now in Montreal.
You mentioned the benefits of having universities, internationally recognized universities like McGill, of course, Concordia, Université de Montréal, and of course HEC, all in one city. What is the availability of talent for international organizations and in your specific field in particular?
We have recruited a number of very good people coming from these universities in Montreal, a range of university. We also had a number of our employees, and I am an example, who actually did pursue their education in Montreal. I did an MBA with McGill while I was already an employee of the agency. I did that as aside from the work, but this opportunity was available to me. I probably would never have done an MBA if I had been in a city where this was not available, but it was, and I did it, and other in the organization have done similar things in their field or MBAs and so on. So all this is actually very, very positive. And one thing that has happened just this last year, which is very telling, is we have signed a partnership now with the University of Sherbrooke, who has a campus, in Montreal, in Longueuil, just across the river. And they have created the first research institute, if you want, in anti-doping in the university. It will be, not only research, but it will also be teaching in the field of anti-doping. We hope to bring people from all around the world to follow this course, because this would give people specific education that they can bring back then to their countries and so on. So having this network of universities around us has given us a lot of opportunities and is very, very important. As I said, education for us is key in terms of anti-doping, and having, the possibility of linking with these resources here is actually a great asset.
How does Canada's brand, which from doing other interviews we hear is probably at its highest right now, it's probably quite strong in the world, and the perception of Canada as well in general and around sports, how does that factor in the development of WADA in Montreal and in Canada?
The Canadian brand, as you say, is actually quite good. I mean, a famous US president said we need more of Canada. We need more country like Canada, and it's right. I mean, it has this image of being peaceful and neutral and supportive and having great diversity, but not maybe the tension you see in other countries where there are this diversity. So all this is in fact very positive, and I think wherever you go and like me, when I travel the world a lot, you are always welcome when you say you're coming from Canada, because you are seen as a friendly face, and that's very helpful in terms of the image we want to give. We want to be seen as good corporate citizens and friendly partners.
Do you have any thoughts to share with our watchers, readers in Canada, but also internationally, about Montreal, about the region? Maybe from your foreign experience in the region.
I have to say, as I said, my experience with Montreal is very positive, and it's not just me. It's many of our expatriates who have come to live to Montreal, and frankly, over the course of 20 years, very, very few, I mean, it has happened, but very, very few have decided to go back to their country because they were not happy in Montreal. And that's a sign to me, that's telling, And you have, I think in Montreal, you have this diversity. As I said, you have first of all, it's a very culturally diverse city where everybody's living basically in peace. You find it very harmonious, and you don't see too much tension in the society. It's a very safe city. I mean, you cannot imagine how many people from other countries come and are completely staggered by the fact that you can walk back in, late at night, in summer preferably, but in the streets of Montreal without any worries. I mean, I have employees who could not ever do biking in their city as a woman because it was unsafe. And in Montreal, this is not even a question. And that's probably a quality of life that a lot of people would envy us. So in that sense, living in Montreal is very pleasant. Also, you have the outdoor possibilities that you have in Quebec. So for those people, and in our field of activities, there's a lot of sports fan and sports people, and they can enjoy the nature here, whether it's in winter or in summer, the great landscape that is available around the city. So all of this is great. It's not a very expensive city compared to other big cities. So that too is an asset. It's well connected in terms of transportation. Traveling from Montreal used to be fairly easy. It's a bit more complicated these days, but it's easy from Trudeau. There's a lot of international flights. So all this makes it, a very attractive city. But to me, I would say, and good schools and for kids and so on. So all this is good. Bilingual. So many people come here and are happy to put their kids either in the French or in the English system. So they get the other language, which is an asset for life, clearly for these kids. So all this, makes it quite unique.